everybody, just thought I'd do a little bit of a French-Indian War update. I am working away slowly but steadily on my French Marines, and I just worked on skin tones and getting the skin down, base paint, and the wood on the tomahawks and the muskets this weekend. And I was kind of looking into the gear that they have, and it looks like they have basically a bayonet holder in what they call a frog, is what my understanding is of the type of belt that holds the two items. And so this thing holds a tomahawk, as well as it can hold a sword, which I think they traded it when they were in the North American frontier for a tomahawk, and then a spot to put the bayonet. And so I was researching that, and something that I realized as I was painting these is that some of the miniatures have what I believe are called Justicorps. They're the large cuffed overcoats that they would have been given when they originally came to North America. But then some of them have abandoned it for just wearing their waistcoat, which is normally present underneath. And so for the French Marines, it was blue. And and that would be why they don't have cuffs on their arms, for these particular ones. And so when looking at Graham's miniatures that he'd painted from Krantara, I noticed he'd also painted them blue, like the miniatures that don't have the cuffs, and I kind of figured it out. And I was also doing some research on some plates, and I saw some of them that were just in their waistcoats, and so I ended up painting them that way. And so so I'm slowly but surely kind of working on these. So I'm looking forward to making some headway on these this week, getting hopefully most of the base paint finished, and then getting on to some of the detailing. Beyond that, had a couple things I wanted to update. I'm looking forward to, I have purchased a package recently from Minden Miniatures, and so I will have some Mohawks from them, as well as rounding out Grenadiers on both sides. I'm probably not going to get to all of them in the short term. After I finish these, I think the next thing I'll probably do is painting the Mohawks. I'm also looking forward to getting some Hurons from Krantara in the future, and also, I don't know with the COVID situation how the development is going, but I know that the next thing in line are the British Rangers, and so those are ones that I'd be really excited as well, just the different kind of uniform and infantry. I'm assuming, I haven't seen any greens or anything like that in the Rangers yet, but I'm assuming they would have berets if they're French-Indian War, as opposed to the light infantry style cap that they had in the American War of Independence. But really looking forward to that. And so that's kind of what's coming up. I have other projects after the French Marines outside of French-Indian War that I'll be doing next. But one of the things that, there were two things I wanted to mention. I had already mentioned that I'll be likely focusing on Sharp Practice in the near future, because I want to do some solo wargaming for it. And I just find that the rules, I think, might be in the way the activations are a little more conducive than Musket and Tomahawk. So I'm going to do some solo wargaming with Sharp Practice, and I'll likely put up some bat reps for that. I am looking at, in the future, trying out long rifle, or at least I'm looking at the rules. I've been talking to Bill Bouchon, who was on the last Musty Wargamers. He has the YouTube channel Lenschnick, I believe is how it's pronounced, and he's been doing some bat reps for long rifle. Now, the reason why I'm kind of interested in long rifle is to at least check it out, is that I think it may fit a niche that I don't have with Musket and Tomahawks and Sharp Practice, and that it's really a skirmish game where I think you're supposed to have less than 10 models per side. It's really individuals, and so the individual miniatures are like characters, as opposed to Musket and Tomahawks and Sharp Practice, which are, it's squad or larger unit based. And so I thought that'd be neat, because I have all the miniatures, right? And I have lots of civilians and cool miniatures I've picked up over the years. And so I thought that might be really neat to try, and just to see what that looks like. So I'm going to, the first edition, I believe it is free, the long rifle. And so I downloaded that, and I'm going to take a look at it. And apparently, according to Bill, it will be going to second edition fairly soon. So that should be really neat. The other thing is, one of my subscribers, Paul, that's Paul Richardson is his YouTube channel. I believe it was Paul that made a comment not that long ago, just saying, would you ever consider doing some 7 Years War stuff with your French and Indian War miniatures? And, sort of a light bulb kind of went off in my head, because as much as, like the Minin miniatures in Krantera, a lot of it was meant for 7 Years War. A lot of Minin miniatures, they're designed for 7 Years War. And as much as that's the case, I've never, because there's so much for me to do still for French Indian War, I've never really thought about it heavily, but I had thought about how to incorporate things like cavalry into my forces when they weren't that prevalent in French Indian War. And it's been an area where, choosing to do French Indian War instead of American War of Independence, it does have some limitations in the kind of models you can use. And so a light bulb went off in my head, and I thought, that's actually a really good point, because down the road, after I've accomplished a lot of what I want to do for the French Indian War period, it makes a lot of sense that I could use my British, particularly my British regulars and French Fusiliers and like lots of that stuff, to build off of perhaps simulating some British-French conflicts potentially within the 7 Year War period. And there's lots of opportunities for different types of cavalry and lots of things that I could do that I wouldn't necessarily see in the North American conflict of this period. And so the only thing, and I'd be interested if anybody else knows this, that game 7 Years War, or knows the period. The only thing I wasn't so sure about is for terrain, what kind of buildings would be suitable because I have like everything I need really for French Indian War terrain on the table, and I'm still collecting pieces, but I don't really know what I would include to simulate buildings either on the continent. Really, I suppose it would be within the European continent for the conflicts, and in particular if it was French versus going against British. I don't know if would they be like the timber type houses I see for like late Middle Ages, or I'm just not really sure. I don't really know, and even doing a quick search, I didn't really see much. And so I'd be interested if anybody has thoughts on that, what would be good. And so that's kind of what I'm up to. I am liking the way these are kind of rounding out. I am going to paint, I'll just zoom in here a little bit. These aren't much to look at the moment because I'm just blocking in base paint, but I am going to paint the tie for the leggings and the shoes a slightly darker color, I think, just to make them stand out a little differently. And I have to paint up the straps and the metal, and then all the gear on the back, and then their hair. And then I think I'm mostly ready to start detailing at that point. Sorry, I'm off screen there. Yeah, so then at that point I'm mostly ready to start detailing. And then of course, when I say the gear, like there's a lot of black that has to be painted in. The scabbard, I think, for the bayonet, I'm going to be painting black, as well as all the the detailing on the gun and things like that. Yeah, so that's pretty much my French Indian War update. I hope everybody's doing well, and I will talk to you later. Take care.